Hi there, Stampers. This is Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. Welcome to today's card making tutorial where we're going to be making a gatefold card. And so it has a belly band and opens as a gatefold, but it has a surprise pop-up on the inside. And in the past, I have like mounted something here in the middle where it would, pop up. So that's an option if you're looking for something like that. But today I'm just basically showing you how to do the fold. We're going to play around with the new Stampin' Positioner a little bit, and I'm going to show you how I created kind of a match on the flowers. So lots to go over today, and I'm excited to share it with you. Okay, as I said, this is the card we're making, and I tried to recreate the flowers that were in our designer series paper here. That's one of the great things about Stampin' Up is that their designer series paper uses Stampin' Up colors. So I was easily able to pick out that this was Pecan Pie, which is going to be the cardstock here, and then Berry Burst, and then the background is done in Bubble Bath. So I pulled out those ink pads and those cardstocks, and that's how I got started making today's card. Okay, I am using the Spotlight on Nature dies for the focal point on the front. I went ahead and I already ran them through my die cutting machine, my cut and emboss machine. So I have those, and then I'm going to use the die brush from the Take Your Pick tool. I know I talk about it all the time, but I don't really, I guess, use it a lot on camera. So I was going to show you guys how quick and easy and simple this is, and how we have to remember to use the foam. A lot of the times I go to use this and my foam is still up there on my shelf somewhere. But one of the nice things about the foam that comes with it is it grabs all the little pieces. So as you're going over it, all those little pieces are coming out and they're getting stuck to the foam. I have mine in one of our old wood cases from Stampin' Up. This was when we had wood-mounted stamps. We had these little wider cases, but I'm sure if you just had our standard cases from our old packaging, that would fit one of these foam things. Just this one happens to fit two. But after I've gone around and I've kind of knocked out most of those, I'm going to push kind of close to the edge so that it gently detaches my piece. And then there's only going to be a few little things left that I'm going to have to poke out with the little tool. But it sure beats having to go through there and knock them all out individually, either out of the paper or out of the die, because you have to go back and clean up all those little holes as well. So quick and easy. And this is an add-on to the Take Your Pick tool. So something you want to check out. As I said, this is our old packaging. We have for years had our stamps come in these DVD cases, for lack of a better word. And Stampin' Up! Has decided that they're going to give us some newer packaging, helping us to take up less room in our craft room and to make things go together a little better. So this is the stamps that we're using today. We're going to use Lovely Arrangements. And so I have the Lovely Arrangements stamps, and I also have the dies. So they're each stored in one of these little packets. I went ahead and ordered the inserts from Stampin' Storage. So I have a link for that if you want to order those for yourself. And then I wanted to point out, we have been told, they're 5 7/8 or something. I don't know. They're across the bottom. It was basically, a little less than 6 inches. And so I went out and bought a 6-inch clear thing, and they don't fit. And so I was really bummed, and I was trying to figure out what the problem was. And I think what it is they are 6 inches edge to edge outside, not 6 inches edge to edge inside. And then also they have a tendency, most of them, to start out kind of narrow on the bottom and get wider towards the top. So I went and got this one. So this is actually deeper, and then it is a little wider. So this one is actually 7.5 wide, and then 7.9 high, 11.9 deep. But anyway, my point is we were told go get a 6-inch bin, and not all 6-inch bins are the same. So I didn't want you to order something off of Amazon that, you know, you hadn't already heard from another demo that these things actually fit, because they may not. So just a heads up. Okay, we're going to start out for our card, which is one of the cards out of volume 3, I believe. Yes, volume 3 of my Fun Fold tutorial book. So in here are full directions, measurements, diagram, link to a YouTube video, all that good stuff. And we're going to start out with a piece of Berry Burst cardstock that is 4 1/4 by 11. So that's just basically cut in half the long way. Then I have a piece of 4 by 11, which I know sounds kind of weird, but you'll see how we cut that down to make it all fit. This, I went for a 1 by 11, but this is actually 1 1/4. I just didn't feel like cutting it down. It still works, right? It was what I had in my scrap drawer. And then I have 2 pieces of white that are 2 by 4. And then, of course, we have the pecan pie and the basic white circles. And then I have already die cut some flowers and some leaves for our focal point on the front. So that's all of our pieces. Okay, I'm going to bring in my score board because I do like that for doing my scoring, because it is more exact. So I'm going to set this down in my Simply Scored tool. I'm going to use my stylus. I'm going to use the skinny end. I use the skinny end when I'm doing cardstock and the fat end when I'm doing designer series paper. It's because of the way it rides on the little grooves, that the larger one rides more on top and doesn't go as deep, whereas the smaller one goes a little deeper and gives a deeper score. Shoot, I just lost my page. I had kind of saved it so I could look at the measurements. See, even I use my books. Okay, so what I want to do is score this at 2 3/4, 5 and 6, and then 8 1/4. Okay, so that's going to be for that. For the belly band, what I want to do is I want to score this roughly at 2 3/4. Okay, but then I want to bump it over just a titch, like not even a whole little. I think I'm putting the score line right in the middle of the bump, if that makes sense. So there's a groove on either side and I'm in the bump in between. And then I'm going to come over here to 5. No, I want 5 1/2 in between. So 2 3/4. I'm going to go 8 1/4, right? Gosh, why can't I think? Okay, so what if I just do this? We're going to do 5 1/2. Okay, but basically the idea is I don't want it to touch in the middle. Normally we would have them touch, but I want this to go over just a little bit. So that it's going to give me room for the card to go in and out. The other thing that you can do is you can just take your card and you can wrap one side around and then wrap the other, and that's going to make it fit. Because we want a little bit of wiggle room for it to slide up and down. And I don't know if you can see this, but they don't quite come together. Okay, there's a little bit of a gap. So that is on purpose. We definitely want it to do that. Okay. when I burnish these, I want to come in and make sure that, you know, again, I'm flush on the sides. Then I'm going to take this second one, I'm going to kind of arc it. So I'm kind of doing a little bit of a arc, making sure that they're going to match up exactly in the middle. Then I'm going to work my way backwards and flatten this off. And so by doing that, I'm making sure that they meet exactly in the middle. Thank you to those of you who are liking and commenting and sharing. All of that is really good for me and being able to be seen in the Stampin' Up algorithm or the YouTube algorithm as they share Stampin' Up videos. Okay, I'm just giving a little bit of a burnish on these others, and that's basically going to be our pop-up out of the middle. Okay, but overall, when the card is closed, we are at the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Okay, then I'm going to bring in my 11-inch strip of paper. This is the Floral Charms Designer Series paper. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off two 2.5-inch pieces for the front of my card. And I'm cutting them sequentially so that when I adhere them to the front of the card, you know, my pattern will match up basically. And then I have my middle piece. And for this one, I'm going to do 2.5. The 3/4 inch in the middle, and that's going to leave me with 2.5, right? Should. Oh, that's 1/4 inch over. But basically, that's going to be all of our Designer Series paper for this card. Okay, so let's go ahead and put those in. Oops, am I grabbing the right ones? I said that about lining up the pattern, and then what did I do? I mixed them up. Okay, yes. Okay, so this one's going to go on the right, that one will go on the left. Sorry, I feel flustered today. Just as I was getting ready to go live, I'm setting everything up, about to hit go, and my doorbell rang, and 2 different people were at the front door wanting things. Somebody picking up an order from my husband, somebody else dropping something off. It was just like, timing is everything, right? So I apologize if I'm a little flustered. If you placed an order in January during bonus days, then you earned coupons that can be used this month. So you want to check your email when you place that qualifying order. Stampin' Up would have sent you an email. You get 1 email per order. So no matter how many coupons that you earned, they're all going to come in that 1 email for that order. And you want to be able to claim those in the month of February. At the end of February, those coupons expire. It's kind of a use it or lose it kind of deal. So don't lose it. Okay, we're going to do a little stamping, but before I do that, let's just kind of get this out of the way. I'm lining up so I'm straight. I have the gap in the middle. I'm going to put some seal on there. And then I'm going to center my circle. Okay, so that's going to allow my belly band to slide off. Now we're going to do some stamping. Okay, so I'm going to bring in my little flowers that I have. And like I said, I cut them out in Bubble Bath following our Designer Series paper. But I need to stamp them And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the Stampin' Positioner. This is a new tool from Stampin' Up. Since we lost the Stamparatus, we have been asking and asking and asking for Stampin' Up to create another stamp positioning tool that we can use. And they came up with this one. It is a limited release for right now as a demo. You have to order it before today. I think today is the last day. And then it's going to become a part of our join offer. If you join Stampin' Up by purchasing a starter kit during the month of February through, I think it's tomorrow through March 2nd, I believe, you can get one of these fabulous tools for free added on to your starter kit deal. I took a piece of cardstock, just some scrap I had laying around, and I die cut the 3 different shapes out of there. Because what I wanted to do is I wanted to be able to stick these in here and be able to stamp them. So I am putting it up in the corner. There is 2 little pegs here, and I don't know if you can see, but there's a groove where Stampin' Up has given us a little bit of a triangle up there. Now I have, if you watch my video, I have a video on YouTube where I have just used my lines on here in order to do straight and to do a repetitive stamping and a couple different techniques. I love our new magnets. They have new little flips on them, so they raised up. There we go. See how they don't touch, they're not laying flat, they're raised. Makes them much easier to grab and they don't snap together and break. So there were some improvements. Anyway, I'm sticking that together because what I want to do is pull out my stamp set. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the stamps that match and I'm going to set them down in the holes. So what I'm doing is I'm watching these little points, okay, and I'm making sure that they are in the little grooves where they should be. So this gives me some time to like wiggle it around, make sure my placement is just right. And I can do this with multiples. So if I'm doing a bunch of them in a row, then I can die cut these all out of scraps, you know, so whatever scraps I have laying around, I die cut all of these. And then when I'm ready to stamp them, I set my stamps in the holes, and I pick them up. So now they are mounted onto that. And then I'm going to stick these in the holes. And of course, like all of our flowers, you have to rotate it till it fits. And then I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to bring in my pecan pie because that's what's used in the designer series paper. So I inked that all up. I'm going to set it down on these little pegs that have springs in them. And then there's springs on the back. I'm going to press down. And that gives me perfect placement of my flowers. So isn't that cool? See how it's nice and even all the way around? Okay, then I'm going to bring in some scrap paper. Okay, and remember, I'm trying to follow the pattern on our designer series paper. So they have the bubble bath base. Then they have this brighter pink in the middle, which I'm using Berry Burst. And then I had, yeah, here we go. I did our first ones, and then I realized mine is pink all the way in the center, whereas theirs are not. So I took a little piece of our masking paper and I just tore a circle, and I'm going to set that over the middle. And then I'm going to use one of our smaller blending brushes and Berry Burst ink. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a swirl. I'm going to tap it off there because I want that harsh mark that it starts out with to be off of my project. And then I'm very gently going to run a circle in the middle of the flower. And then I'm going to remove that masking paper. So see, that is much more like our designer series paper, right? Just giving it a little bit of a swirl and then removing that. I like that a lot better. Okay, so those are going to be mounted on our white circle, but I wanted to kind of place them kind of where I wanted, and then come in with the leaves, and we're going to decide where they want to go. Now this is where if you had some press and seal, one of the things you could do is you could arrange everything just the way you want it. And then, yes, the press and seal like you have out there in your kitchen for covering up leftovers, you arrange everything on here. And let's see. And then I'm bringing in the press and seal. And I'm going to peel off a piece. And this is really helpful when you're doing a lot of different pieces and you have a much bigger arrangement you're trying to put together. Maybe a lot of smaller pieces. But I'm going to set that on there, pick this up. And then that's going to keep my arrangement together the way that I set it out so that I can come back here and now take my adhesives and I'm going to put them over the seams of where the two flowers come together. I'm going to put them over the leaves. So all of this is going to keep my project together when I go to place it onto my card front. Okay, so now that's kind of one piece. I think I'm going to give this a little bit more pink. And then I'm going to set that down over the front. Okay, so we can give this a little bit of a tilt, which I guess isn't going to matter till I stick it onto the card because it is a circle. Okay. Then that one's going to go on here. So this is where I would decide, you know, kind of at what angle I want my whole project to be. And then we're ready to do our interior stamping. So I'm going to take the flower, and this one I'm just going to use a block because basically what I want to do is I want to just stamp it in the corners. So the scrap paper picks up all that excess. And then I want to stamp the words across the front. Now I've shown you how for years I have used the grid paper and I have set my stamp on that, then set the block on that, did all my arranging that way. But now that we have the stamp positioner, one of the things we can do is we can take and put our paper. So I'm using my sidelines here, the grids here. So I am using the grid paper, only this time on the tool. I'm going to place that where I want it, anchor it down with my magnets, and then I have this little piece. Okay, and so this fits on those pegs up here, and it's going to allow me to use a smaller area for my stamping. And I can choose my little greeting. So let's say just a note. And I can take a look at it, and I'm watching the grid paper and I'm kind of keeping an eye on it. But when I pick it up, it may or may not look really straight on here. Okay, and we know that the grid paper is straight, these things are straight, all of that good noise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to center it on my little piece here. And I'm going to put the edge of my stamp right on one of those lines. Then I can take this piece, open up my ink pad, ink up my stamp, and there it is. Okay, and I pressed a little hard. You have to be careful when you have smaller letters that you don't press too hard on it, because they will blur the edges a little bit. But then all I need to do is put some adhesive on this, and we're going to put it on the inside of our card. So if you already have the Stamparatus, that's fabulous. A lot of these techniques will all work in the same way. If you have one of the other stamp positioners, kind of same idea. But if you don't, this might be a great way to get our new Stampin' Positioner for free by just signing up to be part of my team. It's not a really long commitment. You don't have to agree to have parties and all of that. I mean, you can if you will, if you want to. I mean, I'm more than happy to help you start a business. But if you just want to get the discount and be a happy shopper, we welcome that too. And you would enjoy the 25% off discount for, you know, at least 5 months, because you get the whole first quarter. Definitely message me if you have any questions. I'd be more than happy to give you all the specifics, but this would be yours for free for signing up during the month of February. So I hope you like our card and the little techniques that we used in trying to kind of copycat our designer series paper in creating our card. Does anybody have any questions? As I said, this is in volume 3, right? Volume 3 of my Fun Full tutorial books, which can be ordered as a downloadable PDF, or you can have it printed and spiral bound as I do. So thank you so much for being here, and I will see you back here on Thursday at 2:30 for our next live demonstration. Thanks so much. Bye.